all the same 4 days. So the answer is, where would you have sent it to me?
The answer honestly is I don't even know if I told you about it because you're upset. Because it's like it's for prospective clients, and so but I'm so like offering it to people who are also, have finished and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, it's tomorrow from noon to 1, and what we're doing is addressing work-life balance.
Ah, love it. Yeah, send me the thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Especially since I have on my calendar that I'm working tomorrow from 7:30 to 6 p.m. So, be good to take a break. I should be forced break to sit in on a work-life balance web seminar. That'll be funny. I mean, I'm not. I'm just saying I've got a focus day on the calendar. I'm not sitting. I'll take breaks and all the rest of it, but I have to. Tomorrow's my deadline for my resume.
Okay.
So, making progress. So where do you want me to start, or are you going to start?
No, I want you to start. I want you to tell me
Oh,
you want me to tell.
so I have my two people. Christy's one of them, and a girl that I used to work with at another job is the other one, and they're both a little bit confused because I was a little bit confused. They were like, "Well, what should I say?" And I was like, "Well, you're not supposed to." And they're like, "Right, but what should I say?" And I was like,
Okay.
"Oh,
All right, I'll be really clear about here's the appropriate response.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah." So just can you go over that again? Because I say whatever I say, and they're like, "Oh, I'm not supposed to critique you, right?" Okay, I'm not. So they get very like terrified, and I'm like, "I know, I can't really help you with this. I don't know."
Isn't this effective? All right. So no, the point is for them to be your unconditional cheerleaders. So you say, this is what's going on in my world. Their response is, I see that. Thank you
That's
for
it.
sharing that with me. And then
Yeah.
and we will tweak it each week. And I will say, and I will tell you each week, this is their script.
Oh, okay. All right. So they kind of did that. I mean, I feel like I didn't totally screw that one up. They did that a little bit. Christy slipped and she was like, "Oh, if you're looking for," and I was like, "Yeah, yeah, give me that number." So she said, she sent me a thing, but it actually ended up being great. But other than she was like, "Oh no," and I was like, "No, no, give it to me."
Okay.
So I've had check-ins with both of them. I did spend some time. Oh, here, can I read you I haven't even looked at them. I mean, I looked at them enough to write people back, but I didn't like put them in one document and have like a nice neat thing. But I think I sent 3 right before the weekend. Got them right back. And then I just sent off another 2. I wanted to kind of wait until after Martin Luther King Jr. for, because I don't know. It just, people I haven't spoken to in a long time. I didn't want to bug about a holiday weekend. So I'm starting to drip the rest of them out. But here's what I have so far. Are you ready?
So ready.
Oh my God. I haven't even looked at these. I have 3.
Okay. All right. Now, preface this.
Yeah.
We're going to do this. I want
Okay.
you to read to me just the words, and I don't want to know who they were, and I don't want to
Mm.
know your relationships were to them. I just want to hear what you received.
Yep. 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 Got it. Okay. And here I go. Okay. Right. Lisa is a big picture leader who engages and influences all segments of an organization. And while not being hesitant to roll up her sleeves and do what it takes to help her team pass the finish line. Oh, all while not being hesitant to roll up her, so big picture, but all while not being hesitant to roll up her sleeves and do what it takes to help her team pass the finish line. Lisa's superpowers are filtering the information from the noise, building consensus, and being focused on the goal regardless of the obstacles. blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that's one, which blew me away. And then the next one is I find that working with Lisa is not only delightful and uplifting, but I am oftentimes in awe of the level of self-awareness and ability to articulate it. I also find your passion and the way you express your passion to be magnetic and inspiring. I find you to be a natural born leader, and not only have I teamed up with you in the past, but I have witnessed you rouse the interest of the Army of Angel City Corral. I feel blessed to know you and love that you are in my life. I have no idea who wrote that.
Doesn't matter. We don't need to know who it was.
It was you. Okay, and then the last one I got is Lisa is full of energy and passion for helping others. She brings enthusiasm and a positive can-do attitude to everything she does. Lisa goes above and beyond across every step of a project with keen attention to detail and great care, and builds meaningful and lasting relationships along the way. Lisa is an absolute delight to work with. I mean, some of these sound, and I said, like, these aren't recommendations, like, it's more about your experience. So it's like halfway there.
So when you hear all three of these back to back, any surprises?
So, I mean, it's not like I read it and I was like, I have no idea what this person is talking about. But I don't know that I would have promoted any of that in myself as a thing, like with any kind of emotional vigor. Like I would say, but I would toss it aside. I would say I'm a reasonably good communicator, right? I mean, I care about it. I've studied it. It's important to me. I know the English language, but I would never say I am an excellent, builder of consensuses, and because I don't feel that way. But when I hear it from multiple people, then I say, oh, so I must be, maybe I'm above average, or maybe I'm, like in a so it's helpful because I feel like I could more persuasively fall into that part of myself, knowing that it's being received. Does that make sense?
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
So the things that bubbled up for me were the communication, right? So the depth of communication and the excellence in communication. Consensus building was a thing that was like, oh, I definitely do that. Leadership came up a bunch, which is great because didn't have to. And passion, right? So that concept of passion and magnetism and inspirational. I don't know that there's necessarily consensus, but words like that are popping up. So that was good. I'll be interested to get more feedback, let's just say. And what was the other? Oh, the big picture, detail oriented, pulling your, like, the both ends of the spectrum, like the whatever it takes, like let's get there as a team kind of thing. That spirit resonated very deeply, and I wouldn't have said it that way, so it was helpful to hear it. Yeah, so it's helpful to hear it.
Great. So yeah, I heard all of that too. I thought it was interesting how leader came up so many times. Delightful came up twice repeatedly. Yeah, passion 100%, enthusiastic. Oh, it starts up here. Not hesitant, enthusiastic is the same ballpark. Inspiring, magnetic. So relationships.
Mm. Mm-hmm. And that's not, that was a surprise. I wasn't necessarily expecting that from there. It wasn't a relationship role, in other words. And I was like, oh, that's good because that's important to me. So that was surprising in a good way.
Excellent. Excellent. Great. So, and you responded in kind to everybody. I got yours.
Like in seconds.
That's great. So I
Yep.
have, you know how I showed you my deck of reality last time on the, I now have a digital deck of reality. So whenever I get something from someone, I just keep adding, it's on my desktop.
Mm.
And so I just add it. It's now 14 pages long. So I just keep adding to the deck of reality. So anytime I'm like, wah, wah, I'm
Oh
having,
my God, that's brilliant.
I open it up and I read and I go, okay, I remember now.
I'm gonna do that. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Mhm.
Um, because I will say, and I was laughing about this with Christy when we were doing my check-in. I said, you know how when somebody says like, "Oh, you should eat broccoli; it's so good for you," and all these benefits, and you intellectually you're on board, and you're like, totally going to the store, gonna buy the broccoli, and then you never cook it. It goes bad. You don't eat it. And I said, I feel like I'm that way with the playlist. Like I know it's there, and close it anyway. So I finally did it.
Oh,
I did it.
it gave you gas.
I've what's that?
It gave you gas.
No, it's like 11 hours long.
Whoa!
Yeah. And it's I've been listening to it, right? And just like out and about or in the car or whatever. I have a little speaker which I can't find now, but I have a little portable speaker. And so I pop my Spotify on, whatever, and I'm telling you, and I fessed up to Christy and I said, I probably have to fess up to Lynn too. Um Game changer. No surprise, game changer. Like, no surprise. Of course, I tap in and I show up when there's music. It's like it's in my body and I
Yes.
respond
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
100%. And so I've been consciously listening to it to get myself in a place where I'm like, I gotta tackle this thing. So that's a total win. Um so the other what was it? So the other piece of all of this is, I had this deadline, whatever, and I start freaking out and sharing this with Christy. I was like, here's all the, steps that I've taken and I'm making progress, but like I'm stuck. And like I go to sit down in a place to do the resume, and then I'm like, I find a reason to not be there, and then I go and I'm like, oh, I'm there. There's a thing. So I said, well, what if I just care less about it being perfect, whatever that is in my brain? Like, what if it didn't have to be perfect? And I'm not saying it does, but I'm saying if it didn't need to be perfect, what would my next actions be? And whatever came up, I did. So one of the actions was you're stuck on the narrative of losing a really important piece of your job experience that doesn't have a home that makes sense. And so I got to like, well, maybe I need to forget about titles and when I did what or whatever, chart the shit that is the most magnificent. And somebody else verified this for me. I spoke to somebody that Christy gave me her contact information. I spoke to her briefly last night about like, just come up with make sure you've got an impact. You did this and the impact was X. And I was like, you're right, I don't have that for everything, but let me go back and revisit. And and I was like, all right, I did enough work. I threw some ideas down on paper, and then I was like, I got to leave this. And I went and I took a shower, And I would not get out of that shower because I was like, I do not want to, I don't know that I don't have it yet. I don't know. So I've stayed in the shower. 2 minutes later into the shower, I was like, oh my, I have it. So I have two pieces of narrative that are, I don't know whether they're going in the resume, but I felt like I'm like, oh, I can now sit in my experience. And the rest of it is just working out the details of what goes where. My narrative is basically, and this isn't going to be perfect, but my narrative is basically this. I was brought back to Wilshire, which is a privately held multi-business, run as separate portfolio, separate sleeves of a portfolio, very intentionally, very much by design, for the purposes of, doing the last sort of spurt growth of a business that's that size and then selling it. That's why I was brought back. So I was brought back to market one particular part that was kind of waiting to be relaunched. And my job was to keep the brand alive and then take them to launch. I did that. And then there was a lot of meandering of, is that the right strategy? Is that the right technology? And so back and forth, did another significant set of launches. And as we got closer to sale, which was supposed to happen in the first 4 or 5 years I was there, by the way, but life happens and businesses, they're living, breathing organisms. Over time, I started taking on more and more responsibilities around the parts of the business that actually really needed the private equity infusion of cash, right? So I had responsibilities over marketing and sort of day-to-day management of distressed areas of the business, with various impact, right? And then it was sold, right? We still had to show the value of those businesses, and we did. We made great business cases. And then it was sold. I stayed for a year. I ran their marketing. I pulled together their marketing team from scratch, 0 to 5 people, oversaw a rebrand of the entire thing as a, new one organization going forward. And then I did it, like check the box. I did it. And now I'm ready for my next challenge. And part of what was amazing in those last few years was really getting high-end exposure to some really cool campaigns where I really do have a passion. And that is, using the full power of the institutional investor community to make the world a better place. So that's ESG related, it's social, it's climate, it's whatever. And so my exposure to that, I took a little break. And now this is kind of where my heart is leading me. So that, just being able to like think through that, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
that I'm so calm.
Very strong.
And then the second is about halfway through, they fired the entire senior management team, 4 people. I don't need to say it that way, but they had a major turnover in management. And before they installed kind of what the new executive management team or senior team was going to look like, the corporate entity, and by corporate entity, I mean the founder of the company, Dennis Tito, came out of retirement to sort of bird dog this particular area of the business, which was the fintech area. Which held the most highest revenue, most profitable part of the business, and also the highest profit but least well monetized part of the business. All technology. And of all the people that they could tap to help translate what was working, what wasn't working, how to kind of keep things, afloat, assessing sort of, what the revenue projections were, but also where the risks were in the business, where the staff issues were in the business, where, kind of where the pitfalls were, where the opportunities and pitfalls were, was me. So for a year, I reported to the CEO of Wilshire, the founder of Wilshire, to try to give an initial roadmap of like, we don't do this well. we do this really well. These people know what they're doing. We don't need to worry about that. This is a liability, you know. We've got some people internally who could help bolster this effort, or we don't do this well, we're in trouble, and I don't know anybody, not just in this business, but in this company who can do this. I think you should tap X person. And they brought that person in. So I've been trying to find a way to like put together what that is. What the job actually was on a day-to-day basis was an executive communications person.
Yeah.
Back and forth all day on the state of the business and how to pivot the business and, you know, how to message who was coming in and how to message some of the shifts and going through all of that reorg while doing my day job. And that was the best, purest sort of, we'll call it corporate communications, that had some other functions, but makes perfect sense why they picked me, right? And so I've had a hard time being like, I don't even know what to do with that, and like, how do I show growth and whatever. So those two things make it much easier for me to then fill in the other shit that I did, because then I can be like, well, these 5 things I accomplished were under this sort of executive communications, you know, a broader sort of touch and impact. And, you know, these are sort of traditional marketing, which I could do blindfolded, which is all the event production and the digital mail campaigns and managing an outside agency for PR. And so it helps me hang a hat on a thing. The story's not super clear yet, but at least I found it.
Yeah. No, you have a structure that can be filled in based on whatever the conversation is with whoever you. I don't think it needs any more work, because the structure is there and can be plug and play for whoever and whenever it comes up. That would be appropriate.
So I, on the spot, hired a resume writer who is an ex-recruiter for $300. I'm starting to bleed money, but it's totally worth it, right? To basically, and we had a conversation last night, and so I need to hand over a couple of things, and it said, look, just write me an edited version of my first pass, which won't be terrible, but it will be way too much in my head, and it will not see the forest through the trees, because I just can't right now. I'm not there yet. And if you get me there, I can iterate from that. And she was like, yeah, no problem. Great. So I'll probably have that by like Monday. Now I have a call for I don't even know if the job's still available. But it's an introduction call to a new company, and I was recommended highly as somebody who could do, you know, a thing. And so I said to her, I said, I need to pump up. I'll send you the job description. I'm going to try, but I need you to pump up and make sure, like, as a recruiter, if you were looking at this description and this resume, would I make it to the next level? So I feel good. Now I was freaking out all kinds of sides to Sunday, because I was like, I should send them the resume. They didn't ask for my resume. I can send it Sunday night. They'll be fine. And what's the worst that happens is I don't get it to them in time. What, they're gonna think I'm awful? They didn't even ask me for it. They may have already filled the job. It's still an introduction to a company. It's still practice. It's still an opportunity to go back to the guy who referred me, thank him. I can send him my resume. I can tell him, you know, how it worked or didn't work and what I might be looking for and what to keep. Like, it's all good. But I was spinning. And so I got out of it, which is a good thing.
It's a great thing.
And the other amazing thing that I did this week was
wait. Sorry, just 1 second.
No, go.
Did this company come in since you and I last talked, like brand new, or was that around and then you have the call? Like, is this a new?
No, this is, I think I told you about this, but it's been a while.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it. So the other
month ago, a contact that I grew up with in the industry, I've known him 25 years, has since left.
Yeah.
It's his, and so now the call is happening.
Got it. It's in Australia, right? This is not. Oh, this is Australia.
It's Australia.
Okay, got it.
The
Now,
physician's here,
right,
but they're in Australia. Yeah.
Okay, now, okay, great. So the other thing that you got going on this week.
The other thing that I got going on is I've been wanting to get these two people in my network to meet each other forever. And it happened because I was going through my tick list of who I could send my thing to, right?
Yes.
And I can't send it to either of them. They're not those, I haven't worked with them really. But I was like, oh yeah, I got to get a lunch. So I sent them both a Happy New Year. And I said, you know, I have somebody that I want you to meet. Let me treat you guys to lunch. Like, I'll just sit there and sip my hot cocoa. I feel like you guys are going to have so much to talk about. So we meet in Beverly Hills. Literally, they were like twins. Like their background, I didn't even know how much they had in common. They were both traders at one point. They both have institutional sales experience. They know a ton of people in common. And the one of the women used to be our rep for Wilshire through KPMG, and they have a suite down at Staples for hockey and for I guess everything. I don't know. Anyway, I met her because she used to hold a bunch of networking events, and she was like, let's do another networking event night. So we're having this conversation, right? All these synergies are happening. And she's like, let's put another one together. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to connect the two of them. The woman that I connected her with was like, thank you so much. Like, she gave me great insights, whatever. And she could connect her to some potential clients. So I was like, that's fantastic. But she also, while we were talking through, because they mostly talk to each other, and at the end they're like, what's going on with you? We came to catch up with you. And I told them what I was working on, and she was like, oh my God, I want you to meet the board of such and such trust management company or whatever. They need somebody like, so they're already, I didn't ask for a thing. I did not ask for a thing. I just took them to lunch. And at the end of lunch, I was like, oh, okay, well, we can do this, we do this. And I was like, look, here's what I really need. I've got a call coming up. I think it would be a cool opportunity. It seems like it's in the right slot of what I'm looking for. I'm finally pulling together like a resume that I feel good about, having had a year to reflect on doing stuff pro bono, doing stuff freelance, what I liked about my last job, what I didn't. So just distilling that. I would love you guys to take a look at it. Just take a look at it and tell me if it, is clear, or if I seem all over the place. And they're like, yeah. And then, and then we'll see where it goes from there. But that was it was a great meeting. I think, there's at least like 7 women that are like, where's your resume? I want to send it to 20 people. So that's good.
That's fantastic, Lisa. So you're right. You're chugging along very quickly.
I mean, I've had a lot of time to process.
Based on the conversations you and I have had, you're chugging along very quickly. From week to week, you're chugging along very quickly. So I love that you engaged a resume writer who is a headhunter, recruiter who has that perspective of going job description, resume, how do you, I hope that person comes through really well for you. I hope they're really good. And I think that the way that you brought together those two people and came along to sip your hot chocolate is kind of a stroke of genius, and is such a beautiful way of networking, because it's about authentic relationships, right? So, and that's what you're doing. You're building and fortifying authentic relationships so that it is an organic extension of the conversation. You then need to meet blah blah blah. So I think you're going along, you're swimming along really, really beautifully. Let me hold on one second. Tell me.
Oh my God. The other magical moment was, so Regina mm, she gets up, she has to go to a meeting. The girl who was there, um, I have known her while she's been in the process of trying to launch a financial planning practice for women, right? So targeting women who typically aren't listened to when they go to a financial planner, like just it's designed and catered to women who are busy, women who needs, women who um, need additional support, right, in every aspect of financial planning. So estate planning and taxes and all the rest of it, where they're super busy, they're super successful, they're doing awesome, and they don't know this piece, and they have had mixed experience. I certainly have, where you go and you're like, you have a problem, and it's either a very siloed approach or you're not really listened to, right? Like, so this is designed to give the opposite experience, which is you lean all in and you're with a team that's, so even though she's doing individual financial planning, she comes from Countrywide and, Morgan Stanley. Like, she's got a deep institutional, she's like not went through some boiler room program. She's got real institutional sales program. And she's a CFA, right? So she's legitimately credentialed. But she lacks confidence just like the rest of us. So we're sitting at lunch, and afterwards I was like, so tell me, what's going on with the business and how's it? And she's like, we're getting a divorce. And I was like, oh my God, what? So she has this huge blowout with her portfolio manager. Everything that she told me, I was like, you should have been out of there ages ago. I hear exactly, and she already has a solution. So that's not the problem. The problem is she's like, we're working through attorneys what the separation agreement is going to be for the book of business, and how it's going to work out revenue wise. And she essentially doesn't have a reason for leaving communication, right? Like she does. She's like, I don't know what to say. And I said, I don't even know where it came from, but I was like, well, I'm pretty practiced at this point. So I was like, what you just said is fine. However, what you've said makes me ask more questions. Like, tell me what happened, right? I said, right. let's just take this home. You don't need to do it now here with me, but just in your own brain and tonight in a journal or something. Tell me what you want to do. And she's like, well, I really want to focus on blah, blah, blah. And I was like, great. You must have client stories that support that, right? In all the 30 clients you guys have been serving, there must be 5 clients where you really get to do that. She's like, totally. And I was like, go write that shit down. Go write out the stories of the 5 clients who you really impacted, because she's all about growth accumulation, because she feels like women are not given that information until they are widowed or about to die or inherit a lot of money, like later in life. And she's like, I want to help women early on really like get themselves planted and growing their money when time is on their side. I feel like it can have a huge amount of impact. And I was like, great. You don't need to give anybody's names. Write down those stories. And somewhere in there, you'll craft loved my relationship. This is a great, first stepping stone to building my own practice. And what I got exposure to was an amazing opportunity to really help 5 or 6, clients in particular, really, make an impact in growing their practice, growing their wealth over a number of initiatives. And that's what I love. I love the challenge of it. I love the complexity of it. Whatever it is that comes up when you write this shit down, I know you'll slip it into stories, but that passion, if you lead with that and that's your story, they're going to want to hear more about your business, not about what happened. And she was like, that's so good. And I was like, oh my God, I do have value. I'm so excited. And so I felt like it was this amazing afternoon of giving very authentically, and the returns will come however they come.
Great.
But it also was a communications, like, crisis response kind of exercise. So I was like, oh, I get to show up as what I do and what I do well and what I can offer. And so that made me feel really good.
I love it. I love it. You're such a good coach, but you're also, it's so it's really great. So not only are your nuggets really beautiful in your enthusiasm, and you see things so clearly, and you really have, and you make people feel really good. That's what you do.
Oh, that's such a nice thing to say.
The way you reflect back to people really helps them feel seen. And that is a
Mm,
huge gift. That is rare.
that's a really big compliment. Thank you.
You are that's a great way to receive a compliment. You are
That's
welcome.
an amazing compliment. Because you know how many times you sit in self-improvement seminars and they're like, I just want to feel seen. And hi, no, you can't be on this call. You can be on the next call. Um, and and we all want that. But to know that you do that for some people, that's amazing. So thank you.
The thing is that few people can do it.
Mm.
And I think it's I think it needs to be added to, so what are your strengths? I think you have to add it to there. I think it needs to be part of your story, or it has to be a skill set. It has to be celebrated. I think it needs to be an official addition to the Lisa package of what you offer.
I think that hearing that reflected back to me and hearing some of the feedback that I've gotten very initially is um the concept of nurturing relationships towards goals, like nurturing teams, nurturing relationships, authentically connecting, you know, um, that feels right. And it allows me to talk to some of the account management, some of the marquee kind of account management and sort of client facing work that I don't know that you get in a Marcoms person. You would need it to be a director of events, certainly.
Exactly.
But you might be great at production and shitty at managing people. Like, who knows?
Ding, 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 ding.
And so I think that piece, that's that's really, really, it's not just helpful feedback. It's like it makes my heart feel happy. So thank you.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I'm glad. Good. Wow, Lisa, this is fantastic. Now, I wanted to touch base with you because I'm just looking at the time, and I didn't ask what a level of success would be, because we were only going to do 4 sessions. So I want to know, I lied. I'm now going back to, I have your level of success right here. So I want to revisit your level of success, and see if we have had a successful experience thus far, and where the conversation goes from here. So, on our kickoff, January 4th, you said this would be this interaction between the two of us would feel worthwhile if your immediate needs gain clarity on your own narrative.
Mm, mm,
Yes, you have that now.
mm.
2 thumbs
It's
up.
not done, but a huge leap this week for sure.
Okay. Is looking at a year to actively look for employment while opening yourself up to the small on-ramp activity you had last year when you were freelancing. What's the narrative? Okay, so that's okay. What's the narrative that you left of the year that you left, which you have?
Have it.
What freelance work came your way? What full-time positions might make sense for you? Okay.
Really talking to that lady last night gave me some good.
Okay.
I got there.
Okay. You wrote your resume after you left your job. You realized it's 6 people, and there's no story that's clear to you yet. Okay, so great. So quick question. When you got your two networky people together, two people from your network together, and they gave you the opportunity to fill in where you are, and you were sharing and you were connected. Did that interaction make you feel connected? Did you feel connected during that lunch?
Definitely with Christy.
Okay.
Now realize that we had a 3-hour coffee before we had a check-in, and we connected there, and it led to all of this. And so she was, she showed up invested in a way that was really beautiful. And that I felt in return. Jess,
You know what? I'm going to jump in just because I want to change my question. Actually, that's
okay.
not the lunch, but when you downloaded your communications crisis response exercise that you just handed to, was it Regina or is the other person?
I didn't tell anybody. I forgot about it. You're the only person I told.
Okay. All right. But
when I told you and when I was doing it, it was like a high.
Okay.
I felt like I had tools and perspective. Not that she's not brilliant. And she could probably see it in me, but she can't see it in herself.
Right.
And because I know her, because I care about her, and because I watched this journey, and because I just had a similar sort of, transmutable experience myself, I was like, this is totally a communications account management 101 kind of thing, which is just go deeper into what you're loving about where you're going in future, and build that story out, and really just like dive into the details. And then when the conversation comes up, you pivot to that, and you will naturally light up because that's who you are.
Great. Okay, great.
And so yes.
Here's my question.
Okay.
Did this experience make you feel connected?
Yes.
Did it make you feel passionate?
Very.
Did it make you feel purposeful?
Very.
Did it make you feel kinetic?
Totally.
Did it make you feel joyful?
So joyful.
So that is a dream job state experience you just had. So I want you to know that, because you then have a touchstone for what your dream job state could feel like.
Yes.
Which I believe would be replicable if this is something that interested you. I'm certain it's not just a one-off experience. So I want to say that you are already having your dream job state experiences.
Yes.
You are creating that for yourself. Okay. So we could go in a couple of different ways here. If you want to say, Lynn, these are our 4 sessions where thank you so much. I would
Oh my God, is this session number 4? Yeah. Fuck. Yeah, I got it. Oh, I'm going to cry.
Oh, 1, 2. No, holy.
I thought it was 3.
Oh, girl, I'm wrong.
It's 3.
The 4th, the 13th, the 19th. I am premature, and
Thank God.
Apologize.
No worries.
Okay.
Well, it kind of makes sense because I was like, I'm using January for this.
Yeah. No, we have another. Okay, great. So now, where are we going to go with you for this? Okay. So what are we going to do for your last one? So so I want you to continue to create your network of goodwill. You're on a great start with that. That's great. And you're already connecting, and you're having more conversations. So I'm wondering if the next thing we do with you is successes. Okay. So successes are, and this is what's going to also bolster your narrative and when you have interviews with people. Successes are not necessarily the things that would be on your resume for like generated X amount of income and bolstered 10% blah, blah, viability of the company. It would be the projects that had your thumbprint on it, that your contribution to the system, your contribution to a project that you feel proud of, that may or may not be on your resume. It would be measurable, tangible examples of what you did. And I want you to create, and I want you to think, first of all, I'm sure that some are just going to pop up of like, oh yeah, this, and then it's like, but I would love for you to take this as an opportunity to go through your work history as far back as you want, to your high school job, to whatever, that where you're like, oh yeah, and I had my thumbprint on this, and oh yeah, I felt good about this. And I want you to create a list of successes. And they go hand in hand with your network of goodwill, because then when you're having the conversations with the new people in Australia and, you know, Java, then you can say, oh, that reminds me of a project that I worked on. It'll be top of mind. How does that sound to you?
Love it. Yeah.
Okay. So that is literally, that's called step 5. It's called successes. And I'm going to send that to you.
Okay, cool.
Step 5, successes. Now, here's what you do when you meet with your sounding board peeps.
Yeah.
You say, here are some of my successes. Your job is to go, ooh, and ah, and that's impressive. And I like that for you. That's what they're supposed to say. Unless they're like, oh, and what about when you did the fundraiser for Angel City Corral?
Right,
Like,
right,
they're
right,
like,
right.
oh, what about this one? What about that one? That's all they're allowed to do.
Jesus. Okay. Yeah.
And I'm sure it will devolve into other conversation.
Yeah, yeah, it's all good.
How does that sound to you?
Yeah, that's great. That's fantastic.
Great, great. You can continue to add to your seamless transition soundtrack
So good.
if you want. I love that it's 11 hours. Mine is 2.3 days long.
Jesus Christ.
I just keep adding to it.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's good.
Yeah. And then I call. And so like I'll put it on. I've been using it a lot lately. And I put it on, I'll go like, nope, that song needs to come off now. And that's it.
Right, right. Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah. Yeah, but it always makes me smile. It's such a mood changer. It's such a
fast mood changer.
Yeah. Great. All right. So, I mean, we have 7 minutes left. Do you want to tell me like which successes come to mind first to get the ball rolling?
Sure. So I would say mini success this year was that we repeated a fundraiser, which by the way was from my brain in 2019. And I, threw it out there and it did okay. And then we decided to redo it this year because I think nobody else had any other ideas. So we redid it, we modified it slightly, and we 4 times, we did a modicum. This time we actually focused on fundraising. We did some soft marketing around it. I was very proud of the way that I handled that. It was a very not guilting people on the philanthropy committee, but being like, you're on the philanthropy committee. Fundraising kind of makes sense. Like, you have a personal commitment to either raise money or contribute money. I'm not telling you what that is. I didn't say it like that, but we had a conversation about it, and I was like, doesn't it sort of seem like this would be something that, we could extend our impact through? And they're like, yeah. And people had all kinds of different reactions. But the upshot is we funded half a month's worth of operations for the Downtown Women's Center for their hot showers program. That's amazing. That's like, we were hoping to do 2 days. We did something like 12 or 13. And the event was super fun. It actually ended up being, I'm pushing for all these like neurotic details, and people told me after the fact, they were like, we were looking at you like, okay, well, fine, we'll do it. Seems like overkill. And then they got there and they're like, oh my God, thank God she made us do that, this, what, and the other. And also just the space, right? I transformed the space so that people's experience working on the actual collation or whatever was a fun experience. So people hung out for 2 hours and drank wine and networked and went out afterwards for drinks. And I was like, yeah, that's a good event.
Yes.
So that was amazing. And we had a little bit of a rough start with the financial literacy program and this group. And so I worked hard all year going back and forth to the charity and talking to different people and giving them feedback and trying to come. Anyway, I pitched an alternative program. They're going to partner with both those organizations. So this organization is now going to strategically tie themselves to the two charities and the two events that I made up in my head and forged relationships to. That is awesome. I love that.
I love it.
And it's fun, right? And it's fun, and it's not just great in terms of making the world a better place, but it also made the people working on it, it's attracting people and it's connecting people. And so that's more than I could have hoped for. So that's a huge success. And the second is I got paid to do some brand messaging for some tween girls. I built a course that was all about, helping them kind of build confidence, and it was very interactive, and they had a great time doing it. And it was a reboot of something I did 3 years ago. And that was like their favorite class of the year. It was a very girly class. And it's very group participation. And it's very like, oh, it looks great. And then, oh, it looks terrible. It's just very visceral and kind of raw and fun, right? And I think that they left with some real tools that give them, some greater confidence. And that to me is amazing. And this course they did with their moms. So it was mom and daughter pairs. So that's just a great, it's a great bond, because it's something that I'm sure every mom struggles with is, banging her head against the wall with the tween angst. And, it's a lot. It's a big responsibility. So that was huge. I'd love to find a way to grow that out in some way, maybe this year. It can't be my only focus, but I have a couple of, I could try to throw some spaghetti against the wall, see if there's interest beyond just with them. Those are two huge, if my year was about just that, that's a pretty good year.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. All right. You're on your way. Now I want you to keep going backwards and backwards and backwards.
Okay, I'm all over it.
But get your resume done and do your thing, do what you
do my resume. Tomorrow is my D-Day, and I'm in a much better space to be able to do it. So I feel good.
Great.
And that's it. That's all I got.
So when are we meeting again?
That is an excellent question. Hold, please.
Holding.
Oh, I know what I was going to ask you. How viable is it that you can come like maybe a half an hour early on Saturday?
Yeah.
Is that fine? All right, I'll tell you why. Because you and one other girl, who I don't think you know, but she used to be in choir, have are tied to bringing things that are like a good, like, have a cocktail and do a project with the thing that you're bringing. And then you guys can get to know each other. And the reason I'm asking you two is that you're the most calming influence of everybody. I feel like I'll set you on your way. You'll be chill. You'll listen to music, you sip a champagne, whatever. You'll have your little projects. You have the most fun project, in my opinion. And so, yeah. So you'll pour your energy into the space half an hour early, and you're specially tapped. You and Sharon Duncan is her name.
I know the name. I probably will recognize her face.
You might recognize her. Yeah, you might. Okay, so I'll see you on
30?
Saturday, and now 6:30, and now I'm pulling up my, how do I do this? My calendar. Okay, got it. Oh, I have a whole other week. Oh, that's interesting. Well, all right, let me think about this really closely. Executive, functional. How about Thursday afternoon?
Yeah,
Like, does 4 work for you?
absolutely.
Oh, nice. Yeah, 4 to 5 next Thursday would be amazing.
Great. Great. Hold on. That's 126 at 4 p.m. Great. I need to send you a Zoom invite.
Perfect.
And then I'll send you the Zoom invite for the work-life balance thing for tomorrow.
Okay, I just got another one. You want me to read it to you?
Yes, I do.
I worked with Lisa for close to 10 years, and she is extremely responsible and trustworthy. She is very thoughtful and a great member of any team, as well as a great team leader. Her diligence and attention to detail shows up in her work, and having her as part of a project always led to the best possible outcome for not just our organization, but also any client we worked with.
Solid.
That's pretty good.
So leader comes up again.
Yeah, this is a great exercise.
Good.
This is a great exercise.
Fantastic. All right, sweetest of peas. I'm looking forward to seeing you on Saturday.
I can't wait. It's gonna be so much fun.
Good. This is outdoors, right? So we have to wear our parkas.
No, it won't be outdoors. We're gonna open the windows.
Okay.
And I should maybe send a thing that says it's gonna be indoors. I've got a fan. We're gonna open windows. I'll have blankets. It's mask, optional. Whatever you're comfortable with is fine. And we'll kind of play by ear. I feel like that way. But yeah. Everybody's vaccinated. I mean, everybody in this group is vaccinated, and I think almost everybody's had COVID at this point, except me.
That is something.
I'm a never COVID.
That is something. Wow.
So yeah, but that's a good reminder. I should definitely send people a note so that they know.
Perfect.
All right. I'll see you on Saturday.
You're on.
All right. Thanks so much. All right. Bye, Lynn.